Our friends down in the public service department, they brought us this sheriff car. And they said the rear tires are wearing out. You think? Definitely have a problem here, but no worries. We got two of the best in the business. We're going to turn Josh and Dave loose on this sheriff's car today in Tech Garage. It's a great day when we help our friends out at the Public Service Department here at Chipola College. Welcome to Tech Garage. Dave, this one wound up to be a no-brainer. Even you can figure it out, man. What'd you find?
Well, thanks, John. I appreciate that. The control arm here is clearly bent, so maybe some lateral forces hit a curb or something like that. You can see the little sway in there. That's got to be replaced.
That'll definitely wear the tires, but I'll do you one better. Check out mine right here.
What?
Hence, tire flopping around.
That'll do it, yeah.
And I went for another clue. I actually was going to order them, so I went for the RPO sticker. That's a regular production option. That's actually in the trunk sometimes. So I open up the trunk to find it, to get the number and the letters, and I actually found these drifting tires, Dave. That's a dead giveaway, man. That's not good.
There you go. That explains. They're moving sideways, maybe hit a curb or something else out there, a rock or something, and that really knocked it out of the way. It had to be a big rock, by the way, but
yeah,
broke the control arm. There you go.
No doubt about it. And you know what?
Good detective work by you, by the way.
My hands got dirty enough. This is terrible, man. I'm not going to work on this job. I think we'll bring in Josh for this one.
This is the way it goes. The hard work shows up and John takes off. Hey, thanks. That's real nice.
Time to work.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get started. I guess what we'll do is we'll take off these right here to start with.
Okay.
And I was looking at it earlier. We're definitely going to need to get these out, but we're going to run into a problem when we try to pull the bolt out. We're going to hit that well there that's there for the spare tire. So what we're going to need to do is actually drop the subframe. So we'll start here, then go up to 2 bolts up here. Let's do it. Take those out.
Okay. And then drop subframe and we can get the third one out.
Right, exactly.
All right, cool. All right, now you look at the control arms and you can see, there we go. You can see that any way those control arms are running, it's trying to control something. It's a control arm.
Right.
So in this case, it's keeping the tire from flopping around like John showed. And if you got, you'd have an A arm at the top. Whoa. That's why you wear safety glasses. I hit myself right in the eye with that. And if you have an A-arm on top, it's controlling different motion in every direction. If you didn't have control arms, you'd only be relying on the hub here to hold on to it. And there's a lot of forces. You got a lot of G-forces when you're turning on this car. It's thousands of pounds, and you increase to a couple of Gs going laterally, and that's several thousand pounds, 8,000 pounds maybe moving in one direction. So control arms are very important to the everyday handling of these cars. All right, we have that first bolt out, now 2 bolts up here, Josh.
Right, we're just going to take these 2 out. It's a screw jack that's going to help support it when you have these out.
Gotcha. It's pretty simple stuff here.
Oh yeah, once this is out, we'll lower it.
All right.
And be able to get our rods off.
Gotcha. We got this one up here in the back. Before we get there, I wanted to show you this too. This is the adjustment sleeve on the control arm, and this actually controls the toe, and you're able to manipulate that, and we'll have more on that a little bit later. We'll get this one out here before we drop the subframe. We got to get this loosened.
At the same time here.
Josh, how critical is something like toe when it comes to tire wear and that sort of thing?
And toe is actually going to be your worst tire wearing angle. So if your toe is way off, it's going to make a big deal on your tire wear. And actually, as John's going to talk about later, the toe in the rear is actually what you want to start with. When you're doing alignments, you want to align the rear first.
Well, John is going to have a demo for us that you're going to love. He's talking about suspension, particularly toe, when we come back with more Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com. I think we got close here, Josh. Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by Steel Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping, and by RockAuto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
Well, welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. And here's the actual control rod, and boy, it's not doing well. That's what we actually pulled off that police car. But Dave, you made short work of it. Pretty easy, huh?
Well, it is pretty easy. These are just essentially giant bolts connected by a sleeve here. So here's the other one. It's bent slightly. We knew we had to change that one as well. And here's the new one we have from Moog that we got from RockAuto.com. To match the links, of course, you can grab a tape measure and make it the same. Or if you're changing the rod end, you might want to mark the threads with some whiteout or something, or count the individual threads, and then you can return the new rod end to the same position. In this case here, we're going to use the sleeve to actually adjust it, and we have the old one next to it, so we can just start running this up and you got to get it close. It doesn't have to match exactly because this vehicle is going to need an alignment anyway. So once we get it close, that's good enough to get it to the shop without shredding the tires. And let's run the jam nuts up and we're good to go.
And that's the key. You're going to need alignment because toe is the most tire wearing angle. And you know what? You took them off, so you get to put them back on.
No, I'm going to give this to Josh.
Josh will make short work out of that as well. So let's talk a little bit about toe. What is it and how does it actually wear your tires? Well, you could have toe in. Toe in, I'm over exaggerating it, but they're in like this. So what's happening, you're pushing the tires down the road, you're actually feathering from the outside in. Now toe out, just the opposite. They're going this way. You're pushing them down the road. So you're feathering from the inside out, a little bit different. I'll show you how they wear a little bit later. A couple adjustments, well, you can have a shim like this, and you really can't see this on camera, but it's thick on one side and thin on the other. So if you put that between a hub and you factor in a 16, 17-inch wheel, you're really moving that hub in or out, so you're affecting the alignment angles. These are actually offset ball joints or offset joints that the ball joints go into, and they're asymmetrical. So what's going to happen here is you turn them, the spindle's going to move, and you're going to affect alignment angles. You can use shims like this, put them in control arms. You can do caster and camber with this, sometimes some cars with toe. You also have these eccentrics, and they're off-center, so they're asymmetrical as well. They're pushing against the control arm, and they're going to move it in and out, caster and camber with these on a lot of systems. Now, I told you about that feathering wear. Look right up here. You can actually see the feathering going across the tire. That's what you're going to feel with your hands. And be careful. You don't want the cord sticking out and hurting your hand. Now, I'm going to show you in a minute the one down there on the bottom left. That's an actual parallelogram steering system with a gearbox, and that has an adjusting sleeve. What Dave did was the toe adjustment right there on the rod. There's the shim I showed you, and then you have the eccentric or the slots that are going to move it in and out. Now, in order to do it, it's pretty simple. I'm going to lock the steering wheel, and when we lock the steering wheel, nobody likes a steering wheel off-center. So once we lock it, you can come down here to this right here. You can bust those little nuts open on the adjusting sleeve, get you a special tool where you can actually get you some channel locks and move them in and out. You can also take a tape measure. When you take a tape measure, you go to the front and the back and just make sure the number's the same. But Dave hit it right on the head. You're going to have to take the car and get a professional alignment. Well, coming up, we're going to bring in our F250 for the segment we call Keep It or Touch It! Hey, we got a studio audience today. Stick around. We'll be right back with more Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com.
You are locked into Tech Garage, and we hope you're enjoying this episode. John, I'm enjoying the heck out of doing this series because I get to learn so much from you and Josh.
Yeah, this is an incredible series, man. We do diagnostics. We got the coolest demos on the planet. We get to do it at Chipola College. Josh is a master technician. You, man, you're a TV extraordinaire. So you know what? This is phenomenal, man. I love it too.
Yeah, we have a great time, and we do it every single week, but we're not done this week. Still more Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com coming up. Stay tuned.
This is Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Well, we got our Ford F250 in the shop, and Dave, this is going to tell us if we're going to keep it, ding, 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 or crush it, wah, wah, wah.
Right now, Keep It is winning. We gave it a visual inspection when we got it outside last week. Looked at the chassis. First of all, you want to make sure the frame isn't bent and the thing's not crabbing down the road. This looked really straight. I also like checking the body panels, making sure they're lined up. All the gaps are the same, whether you're going from front to back or top to bottom on the gaps, and from side to side. Maybe the hood is kind of deranged a little bit. That could be an indicator that it's been in an accident. First of all, if the chassis is bent, that's an indicator it's been in an accident. You want to walk away. The gaps, though, could also be an indicator, or they might just be hung kind of in a funky way, and there may not be a problem, but it's at least a red flag to alert you to a potential problem.
Yeah, and if you got an opportunity to bring it in the shop like we do and get it up on the lift, this will really tell the tale. So what we did, we basically lifted the truck up, and we went through a good visual inspection underneath. We started out with the differential. It was leaking a little bit. Well, with this much mileage, it's really not a problem. Dave, you took the drive shaft and pushed up and down on it, so we know we don't have a pinion issue there. We just got a little seal leak, and we can fix that.
You got it. We had a small hole in the exhaust as we looked up. It was the original factory exhaust, which is actually pretty cool. That way, nothing was rearranged underneath the truck. If you wanted to replace it, you just grab an OEM exhaust system and you can just plug it right in.
Absolutely, or if they want to do duals, do it your own way. Also, there was a couple of little holes in the bed. You can see up to the bed, but there's a bed liner in there. We can put a bed liner in there. It was nothing that something's going to crash through to the bottom. It wasn't rusted to the point where I'm actually worried about it at all.
And again, further indication, we had the original exhaust system, the original catalytic converters on this vehicle as well.
Yeah, and that's good. Little tap test, you knocked them like that. We saw on the rear of the transmission, though, it's a manual transmission, which is nice because these things are inherent problems with the automatic. So we saw the tail shafts dripping a bit. Once again, with that tug on the drive shaft you did, we know there's nothing wrong with the tail shaft itself. It's basically just a seal there. No, super easy fix.
Once we went forward, we saw some oil seepage there, right on the transmission. Is that normal?
Yeah, with this much mileage, and it's a manual, so it's pretty much bulletproof there. We don't have a problem there. Then you saw that weird air system deal. Tell me about that.
That was interesting. I hadn't seen anything like that before. That is coming from the cheater pump,
Yeah,
to call it.
exactly.
What that would do is you think about putting extra air on a fire, and that makes it burn hotter. That's what you want in your catalytic converters. You want it to be able to get rid of the exhaust by burning hotter. So that pump would actually, on a cold start, put air into the catalytic converter to make it be able to pass emissions.
Yeah, right?
It wasn't working, so the previous owner just capped it off, and it's still going to work the same.
And it's okay. I mean, you know, this truck gets grandfathered into emissions. We maybe have a little bit of emissions problem, but nothing that's going to cause any problems. Got up to the front, we saw a little bit of engine oil leaks as we went through, totally normal. Then up at the front of the truck, man, it was kind of an indication of what was going on. We saw the new power steering pump system. That was good, the hoses and power steering pump. So somebody's been maintaining it.
And new air conditioning system. We saw that, which again means that somebody was driving this vehicle, they cared for it. So we saw the new condenser, we saw new hoses, again indicating new AC system. This thing's been driven.
Yeah, and another thing to take a look at is the brakes and the axle seals. You found some things when you looked at that. Why don't you start in the rear?
Yeah, the left rear, we found that there's some grease on there that was actually coming from the axle. Not a huge deal. You can just replace the seal and move along.
Yeah, going up to the fronts, you got that fancy gauge. What'd you find?
Yeah, it was real fancy. If the pad's as thick as one of the green tabs, that means you're good to go. You got plenty of brake material left, and you're going to be stopping for a while.
Yeah, this one had a ton of material on it. So nothing else to do except turn our attention to under the hood. So let's take a look at what's going on under there. We said in the last show, we got that inline six Ford's famous for. Great motor. Why don't you start on your side, Dave?
Well, looking at the battery first, this is nice. It has a date on it. This was from November of 2020. Batteries usually last between 3 and 5 years. So that tells me this battery is new. There's no corrosion on it to indicate any problems there either. We talked about the new air conditioning. Here's a new accumulator. That would be indicative of that. New hoses and everything running to that. So again, this vehicle has been driven recently and it's been well cared for. Also wanted to grab the radiator cap and look underneath. You're looking for any kind of oil in there. Maybe it's contaminated. You could have, if it's red, that's coming from the transmission. That's a bad sign. But it looks right here like we have nothing but coolant. So
that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, right?
And a couple of things you can do is some smoke checks back there. I mean, if you have white smoke back there or steam, that's usually an indication of a blown head gasket. You could have blue smoke, which means it's burning a ton of oil. We might want to walk away from those.
Especially if the head gasket is an issue, run. Don't walk, run.
Yeah. Or you may have black smoke, which is just a rich condition. You may be able to tune that up with no problem. So, Dave, I think this one's a keeper.
You got it, and I think we're going to elevate this to the next level by adding some accessories to it, and Rock Auto probably has what we need.
Yeah, check that out, and I'll finish up here, all right?
You got it.
Right here, I like to pull the dipstick out, and I like to check the oil. This is a good one here, you know, smell it. You can smell burn oil, and then go ahead and just take it off the stick, feel it. You know, you're checking for anything gritty or something down in the oil. That's not a good thing if it's all gritty. Maybe some of the bearing material started to go bad. The engine wasn't knocking, so I didn't really suspect a problem there. Come up to the power steering, same thing. You're checking it, making sure it's not empty, smelling it, doesn't smell like it's burnt. You can do that to all the fluids. You can basically check your brake fluid. They make strips and testers for all this stuff, but you can go through pretty pretty thoroughly. Last but not least, I like to look at the radiator tank right here and make sure that it's full or had fluid in it. A lot of times if these are low, it's a good indication we're either losing coolant or it's burning coolant. You know, they could have filled it up, you might not know that. Belt condition, just a general visual inspection of the engine is going to tell you a lot. I think we'll take the gussy up route on this one, and I know that rockauto.com can help us out. So stick around, we'll check in with Tom and Dave right after this break.
Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by AP Laser, leading the way. And by RockAuto.com, all the parts your car will ever need. This is Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, and it's always a pleasure when Tom Taylor joins us from Rock Auto. And Tom, we've got a Chevy Impala here at Tech Garage, but it's not just any Impala, it's a police cruiser. So what are some things that might be different on a police cruiser versus an Impala that you and I would just buy as a family vehicle?
Well, they might have upgraded the suspension, different control arms, upgraded the brakes, bigger brake rotors, different brake pad material, upgraded the radiator, the cooling system. There might be a different power steering system because police cars sit and idle a lot, and so the power steering system doesn't overheat. So those are some things.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, how can I discern between what might be a part for a police package vehicle and non-police package?
But in the part description, it'll say with police package or without police package. Then you can look at if you're not sure, was my car a police car or not, and maybe it's been through several owners, you can look at the images of the part, see if that matches, and then they may still look similar. You go to the info page and we'll actually have dimensions that you can compare, like the control arms for that Impala are 6 inches different if it's police or not police, so you can get your measuring tape and say, confirm which part you need.
So you know, and if something is shaped completely differently, the picture will help you out there.
Right.
And you can also look and see different parts that maybe other folks are ordering as well. What delineates that?
Right, we have little heart icons that show the parts that have been ordered most frequently by our customers with the same car and returned the least frequently. That may not help so much with the police versus not police because there'd be a lot more civilian versions versus police versions. So those will get more hearts. But.
Makes a lot of sense here. We're looking at some of the suspension parts here that RockAuto.com had for the Impala. Here, not really a suspension part, but here we're looking at bushings or body mounts right there. Kind of part of the suspension system, but we found it under body on RockAuto.com.
Yeah, that'd be under body. And yeah, we have control arm bushings. And you saw in the box here, a lot of these parts, the manufacturer Moog has the problem solver.
Yeah, it says here on this box, it says, overbuilt for durability. So that's tougher than the OEM part right there, right?
Right. Yeah, the aftermarket manufacturers or the OEM manufacturers will later discover, hey, we could have done this different materials, resist corrosion better, resist damage to oil damage to the bushing, and the replacement part will be better than the original was.
RockAuto.com has all the parts your car will ever need, and sometimes parts that are even better than the original. Well, John Gardner's over there at Garage Ed. If you didn't learn enough here, you can learn a little more over with John.
Well, folks, this is Garage Ed, and it's been all about the air conditioning system this season. And this segment, well, it's about the accumulator and the receiver dryer. Now, Josh, a big misconception is accumulator and receiver dryer, well, they're the same component. They kind of are similar. They do the same thing, but they are not the same, are they?
Well, they do two different things. They're at two different ends of the system. Let's just go to the graphic and we'll talk about it, okay? So with an accumulator, its entire purpose is to actually keep liquid refrigerant out of the compressor. You don't want liquid refrigerant in the compressor or it's going to screw it up. Down at the bottom is where the oil goes in. Actually, liquid refrigerant is actually lighter than the oil, so it hangs out above it. And as it sits there, it boils off in the engine compartment, ensuring that when it boils off, it enters at the top of the tube and goes all the way back to the compressor as a gas.
Now, you got one there cutaway in true Tech Garage fashion, man. What's on the graphics is actually right here, so point those points out to us.
Right, so right here you can see this little U pipe right here, and at the bottom is a screen. The oil hangs down here at the bottom, and it gets filtered out through the screen. Once the oil is filtered out through the screen, it actually goes back to the compressor and helps lubricate the compressor. Up above it is where the liquid refrigerant sits as it kind of boils off, enters at the top of the pipe, and that ensures that the gas goes straight to the compressor.
Now you got one more part in there. It's important to dry the refrigerant, isn't it?
That's right. So inside here is also a desiccant. There's some silica gel, silica beads in here. Now I say drying out the refrigerant, that's not talking about taking a liquid refrigerant and drying it out. We're getting the moisture out of there. We're getting the H2O out of it.
Yeah, you know, and that's different than the receiver dryer. Look at the graphic on the receiver dryer. That's in the liquid line. The accumulators in the gas line. So liquid's actually coming in and it's coming down. It's going through the desiccant. Yes, it's drying it just like the accumulator is, but it's liquid. So by the time it gets down there, if there's any gas or residual gas, it has to turn to a liquid before it goes into the system and keeps it running precise.
That's right.
So if you have those systems, you're either going to have an orifice tube with the accumulator or a TXV or an H-block with your receiver dryer, gas and liquid, two different components. Now you may have one built in right here to the condenser, does the same thing. It's a receiver dryer, it's in the liquid line, just a different look at it. Now Josh, I'll tell you what, Dave's fixing to drift that cop car. He fixed it right. Once these things work, your system's working right, I'm getting out of here.
Got to go.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Wait for me, man! Oh, you are not drifting without me, Dave.
I'm not drifting with you. This is actually to teach folks from saving a spin here. Watch this. If we do it with power, check this out. Check it out.
Oh boy. Oh, one more time.
There's no recovering from that one.
Too cool, man. Let me see that.
One more time.
Whoa, this is not the Mad Hatter. Dave, I'll tell you what, man, that was so much fun. We're out of time for today, but make sure you join us next week for more Tech Garage brought to you by rockauto.com. Stop this thing. Stop this thing.
Where's the ejection seat?
I'm out of here. Oh.
We could not do Tech Garage without production assistance from Chipola College in Marianna, Florida. Chipola was founded in 1947 and it was recently ranked among the top 3 community colleges in the United States.